It's a top two advance, right?
Hmm.
So Japan, US will be advancing, I believe.
Hello, 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 and welcome back to the 12. This is a show about the Women's Super League, aka the highest division of women's football in England. We're here to discuss all things WSL, both on and off the field. Each week, we will be breaking down games, showcasing stars, and highlighting important stories surrounding the game. My name is Tom Baum. I am here with my co host, Deepti, Mark, Treb, and this week it is all about the fist. It is all about Black Power. Um, it's all about Bunny Shaw. Um, we all know that Bunny Shaw went through quite a few nasty, um, vile, racist, and misogynistic online comments. She did take her Instagram down, and we were so excited to see her start her first match. This is not the first match that she's been in since the incident a few weeks ago, but this is her first start. The start was at home, and after she scored her first goal, she looked to the crowd, threw up her fist, and Dr. Head indicating a display of Black Power. Um, this was actually the first time that Gareth Taylor had actually said something worth listening to. Uh, he said in the post match comments, is like, Bunny is a proud Black woman, and where she comes from means a lot to her. I think he said he didn't see the display, which again, that's a little disappointing, but that's Gareth Taylor as a whole. Um, but it was good to see her let us know where that she was still um, involved, that she still cared, um, that she was going to shake all of this off and be the great player that we know that she could be. Um, what what were your reactions um when you saw her goal celebration? Well, you saw
Uh,
that. Nice.
yeah. I I mean, I was happy for her more than anything else, right? Like, um, and like proud of her as well, because um, I think it's tempting, like for especially, I think all of us can probably relate to experiencing racism in one form or another, and I think a lot of times it's tempting to play it down or almost like not make a big deal of it, like almost like you can kind of want to move on from it quickly. And so I'm glad that she was basically like out loud with it, where it's like, look, um, this happened, this conversation is not over, but like I'm here, basically, and and really that, and that's just that she won't be um defeated, I guess, by the type of people who would make those kind of comments, and I guess just think those things in general, So, um, I admire her strength in that moment, and I also admire her. We kind of talked about this last week, but like showing her vulnerability, actually not playing, actually saying, "Look, this hurt. This is a problem. This shouldn't be happening to other people." So I think like everything, obviously, like I'm not going to tell her how to react to racism, right? But I think that I think she's handled it beautifully, and you just can't help but root for her the rest of the season.
Yeah, I actually couldn't watch this game live, but I saw like in our chat that all the reactions to it, and I immediately had to go see the photo and like see who got the correct shot in the clip of it. And like you guys have said, I think it was very powerful. And, even people who maybe don't follow the team, like they're all aware of the incident. And it made even like, non-soccer news. Like I saw Viola Davis had posted something on Instagram about it. Like it reached far and wide actually. And so that was kind of cool is the wrong word, but it was kind of cool to see how much of like an impact and reach Bunny has and what it actually means, and seeing her do that and having it being actually plastered all over um, is deserved, and she deserves all of it. And like we obviously love her on this podcast and we support her and stand behind her. So um, I think yeah, I'm just proud of her for taking that stand, coming out, performing like she did, and showing that, obviously it's like she had to take a mental health break, and it does get to you, but it doesn't keep her down, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with the first two comments more. I think for me, one thing is also just when I think of players that are outspoken in the league, obviously you think of like Leah Williamson, you think of Sam Kerr, like you think of these players that are kind of always vocal about everything, and you don't really think of Bunny Shaw as that. So to see this coming from her, I felt like made it even more powerful, because it was like, no, like I'm not going to be silenced. Like one of those don't mistake my kindness for weakness moments. It's like just because I'm quiet doesn't mean you can sit here and slander me. And I think in addition to that, I really like that she did it at a home match, because we talked about it last week on the show, which was, a lot of these comments we had heard, and the whispers were that a lot of these comments came from inside the house. Like they came from fans that were frustrated from match results and possibly frustrated from her performance, but that's still no reason to obviously be racist and let that kind of be vocalized. And so for Bunny to do that at home was just like the icing on the cake, where it was like, okay, she's showing that in front of everybody, not just the world, but in her stadium, at her house, like letting it be known, like, I'm not going to be intimidated. You're not going to silence me, and I'm still going to come out here and score these goals and body defenders and make everyone look silly. So I'm really glad that she didn't have the goal outburst against my team. But in terms of statements, like I loved it. Like when it happened, like DB said, like we were all in the group chat going crazy. Like I loved it. Those kind of statements I'm always going to side with. I think that, a lot of times people expect Black athletes to just take their money and take all of the abuse that comes with being a professional athlete. And
Shut up and
anytime,
dribble.
yeah, I mean, yeah, we hear shut up and dribble, shut up and play. Like we hear this all the time, like in every sport. And so like I said, for a player like Bunny Shaw that we don't normally hear vocal for a lot of things, for her to really take that moment and be like, here's my response to all this bullshit, was really powerful. And I loved it. So yeah.
I agree. I think the thing that also like stood out to me is that we know that she scored other goals since this incident has happened. And maybe it didn't seem like she got the support of her teammates on the pitch after scoring. That did not seem to be the case after this particular match. Like both times that she scored, her teammates, immediately flocked to her to congratulate her on the win, because she actually did the gesture after all of her teammates were kind of clearing away from her. So I thought that was really important, that she got the support of her coworkers, essentially, like, hey, yeah, like you went through some really messed up stuff and that's really not cool, but we have your back. And I think that was something that we, especially like city fans as a whole, needed to see that, because I don't think that we had really seen that prior to this particular match, especially like when she was doing well. So I think that was encouraging to see, and I just hope that if this is going to be what spurs her on throughout the rest of the season, like, I guess thank you for calling her racist names. Not really. I would never say that because that's dumb. Um, But if this is what's going to be what Spurs are on, I'll take it.
I was just pulling up an interview that she did with Emma Sanders of the BBC back in October. So October is Black History Month in the UK, and in that interview, she talks about being an inspiration to young black footballers, young black female footballers in Jamaica and elsewhere. And I think that this is a great way to be an inspiration. You know what I mean? And so I think this is where like her visibility, like even though I'm sure it's difficult, I'm sure she's still working through some things on a personal level. Her visibility is important, and again, I'm just I'm proud of her because I think also too like there is the immigrant side of it, right, where you're in a different society and you come from a black majority. Like I was born in Trinidad, right? So you come from a black majority country to this totally different environment, and so it's like you almost get like a crash course in race relations essentially, right? And so it's all of that. Like she's only 27, like this is such a weight to take on for anybody, but especially somebody who that young. So it's just I continue to be impressed with her and just proud of her, and I just want good things for her.
Yeah, amen to all of that.
Yep. Amen. Well, why don't we get into these matches? We'll do it a little bit of a flip. Since we're talking about Man City, Bunny, we'll go ahead and get into Man City now, and we can leave United for last. Man City did win 4-0 against Liverpool at home at the Joy Stadium. We already talked about Bunny scoring. She scored a brace, actually. The second goal was probably a little bit more impressive than the first because she had a little bit more work to do. But she did score a brace in the first half. Even though Liverpool did have a few chances, I think in this game you saw why Yamishita is probably the number one keeper over Keating. Like the save that she had on Leanne Kiernan, I don't think that Keating makes that without it being a penalty. And then Kanak was able to make sure that Holland didn't get the with the keeper down on the ground, wasn't able to get her shot in. And that was before Bunny scored her first goal. Both of Bunny's goals were assisted by Mary Fowler. Mary Fowler, who set a record for 4 consecutive league matches with 2 or more goal contributions, because she assisted both of Bunny's goals, which has never happened in the history of the WSL. So that's pretty impressive. Obviously, she's been in very good form. That's not helping Australia right now as they are getting smacked.
It's like, can we talk about Mary Fowler for a second? Because where did this kind of come from? Like she was, I've always loved her and like liked watching her play, but she was kind of on and off and a little bit, could be cold on a day, could be hot on a day. It wasn't consistent. And then suddenly in these last couple weeks, you see something like spark out of her. And maybe it was like, even when Bunny was sitting out, she like kind of took over and was able to score those bangers actually. And then now like assisting and coming on the pitch more and kind of making making her space and like showing why she should be on there. But is this like a trend that you've seen for a while? Is this something that's kind of surprising to you as well, where like this has come from? Or have I just been missing something from before?
No, you were not. Like, have y'all seen that meme of the video game player where they're like, okay, now it's time to lock in, and so like they lean forward? Yeah, that's exactly what Mary Fowler has done all of this, like pretty much since October, November of the season. Like she has truly been locked in, especially after like I think that she has in a lot of ways taken up the slack that Lauren Hemp left when since she's been injured. Um, knowing that that's not a credible like goal scoring creator, whether that's scoring the goal, assisting on the goal. And I think that you can also like through like Gareth Taylor's not going to give us a whole lot, but like through his team selection, you can tell who he sees um, as players that will work for him. So the fact that Aba Fujino, and in the last 2-3 matches, Aba Fujino has played very, very well. Like she had Taylor Hines in absolute hell in this match. Because her ability to just take 2 touches and then get a cross off, and like when you have somebody as devastating as Bunny in the box, that's killer, like especially if you can just create that space, and she's been able to do that for the last 3 weeks. And I think we've just seen Mary really evolve and we've seen the consistency just keep coming as opposed to I'm just kind of here and there sort of thing. I do also want to talk about this match had my favorite Man City goal of the season because it was not a shot. It was most definitely a cross. And congratulations, Gracie Pryor, on your WSL debut, playing out of position at right back. You scored a goal on what was most definitely a cross, but that mug floated right into the side netting and became a goal. So congratulations to you on a debut or a goal that you will never forget in your life. So City seems to be back into a form of beating teams that are lesser than them, which has obviously been a problem. So we'll see what happens in this international break, as Mary Fowler has been subbed off and Japan is now up 4-0 on Australia with 75 minutes to go.
Ooh. Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
No, I was actually going to ask you about Bunny. Obviously, we talked at length about the stuff that she's dealing off the field, but also she's kind of coming back from injury, right? And I just wonder, do you think that time off maybe, I guess, useful for her for how she finishes the season, considering that when she's healthy, she always plays.
Yes, absolutely. And having a player like Viv or a player like Mary Fowler, who's in such good form, be able to spell her and still be able to get production from the center forward position has been very impressive. I do think that has been very helpful throughout the season because Bunny's been dealing with injuries off and on since essentially since November. So being able to have 2 players that are able to play in the center forward position or play at the creative midfield, quote unquote, position has been interesting. And I did find I kind of found it wild that Gareth decided to start Roard with Viv because and then put Hasegawa in the midfield. It was, to me, it was the ultimate Matt Beard, I do not respect your midfield because I don't think that we all know that Viv and Jill Roard are not about to track back and play as traditional 8s. That's just not their ministry. So the fact that they were able to get away with that is kind of a damning indictment on Liverpool's midfield to me.
Well, I was gonna ask if you could say anything nice about Liverpool this match, and if there was, if anything, like a bright light.
I mean,
They survived.
Sophie Roman Hogg is healthy again. Leanne Kiernan can create chances when given the opportunity.
So the answer is no. You cannot
Yeah,
think of anything nice.
that's about all I got. That's about
They
all I
made
got.
it to the final whistle.
So just
Yes,
real quick,
exactly.
because like I know we're trying to get through these real quick, but like real quickly, what do you think the ceiling is for Man City for the rest of the season? Now that Bunny's coming back healthy, you do have Viv kind of getting familiar with being at City. You have these young players like Fowler stepping up, and you sit just 2 points out of third. But I think, what is it? You have that month-long Chelsea marathon, which includes a league match. But then after that, the schedule is pretty favorable, and you do have United left near the end. So I'm just curious, like, what do you think sitting here now? How do you feel about City's chances at possibly getting back into Champions League competition?
I don't know, because like it's going to depend on how Gareth prioritizes the competitions. Because if he prioritizes getting this Subway Cup over league play or over UWCL play, like that's gonna like indicate to me like I just need something. I need something in the trophy case. I know. Okay. I need something in the trophy case because Man City hasn't won a trophy since 2022.
That
right?
weather out there is crazy
So,
right now.
man, kicking my internet's behind. But yeah, like I just need something in my trophy case. I would say, like, to me, getting 2 results against Chelsea in these 4 matches is
that'd be
probably
huge.
the most important thing. Like, if they don't even have to be wins, like if they are draws, like that
And
is
I would presume the
probably
league. You want that league to be one of those results, right?
yes,
Because
absolutely.
I feel like that's the kind of the same situation Arsenal were in with City, where it was like, okay, like if I had to pick which one I wanted to win, I wanted to win the league match, and I didn't really care about getting knocked out of the Subway
Right.
footlong combo meal cup. Like I didn't mind that, because the focus, I know from Arsenal's perspective, the focus is getting into that top 3 and finishing the season as strong as possible. Now that we kind of know that the league title is out of our hands, and kind of
Right.
making sure we have a good showing in Champions League. But I was just curious to know what you got, like what you as a City fan could think, because City make me nervous right now with the way that they're playing and with their schedule that they have left. Yeah, I could definitely see them sneaking into that top 3, and it just makes me nervous because I want Arsenal to be in that second place spot when that happens. Obviously, like I don't want to be the ones at risk.
I think those Champions League ties are going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
very curious.
Well,
to
that's
be
what I'm saying,
honest.
because Chelsea. Obviously, we know Chelsea's prioritizing Champions League. I feel like it's safe to say Arsenal are going to go into their stretch prioritizing Champions League. And I think City might be the only kind of quote unquote big club that is going in probably not doing that. I feel like maybe.
I don't know.
Listen,
I guess
listen. Same, like there's a saying for amongst City fans, like same club, same passion. So just like the men did at the Bernabeu, and just like, yeah, we'll just throw a random selection of players out here to play Real Madrid. Would it surprise me if we went to Stamford Bridge and just said, yeah, we're gonna just play a random selection of players? No, not at all. Again, same city, same passion. So I don't know. Let's move on to a derby match, which was not really a derby match. In Arsenal Tottenham, Arsenal wins that one 5-0 over Tottenham, and like I'll let Treb, you and Deepti take over this because my only notes are 3 words: belt to ass. And I'll let y'all take it
You want
away.
to go first? You can go first, Deep. Do you want to go?
Sure. I had the privilege of attending this match, so I got to see the whipping and whooping live, like in person. It was so fun. It was a near perfect match. And the only reason I say near is because Well, one, there were a couple chances that I think Arsenal should have scored. Like, it should have been like 8-0.
I got you.
Yeah, a couple that they should have scored and didn't. And two, well, Chloe Kelly made her re-debut for Arsenal, which was big. And right at the very end, she like had a shot, which was also kind of a cross, but it was definitely more a shot, I think. And it just hit the crossbar. So if she had scored, I would have called this a perfect match. But it was really good. Russo got a brace. Emily Fox had a banger of a goal from outside the box in the 90th minute. And I just love that they like, they knew they'd won. By then it was 4-0, obviously, but they're still going, still trying to score, still like on the attack. That's what I love, that I like. It's part of Renee's, I think, mentality that she's like putting into them, is like, you don't stop playing even if you know you have a big lead. You just keep going, 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 and score as many as you can. And we've seen that a few times now in matches. And obviously, like under Renee, Arsenal has scored a lot of goals. And yeah, it was such a fun time. And Treb, you could. I'm just gonna. I was cheesing so much.
It was
like,
euphoric for Deepty.
It
She
was.
was
It
there.
really was.
Euphoric. It was just like the SpongeBob.
The
meme.
number of
It's like
times
giving-
Freed from Desire played, like everyone.
It was magical. I mean, like Deepty said, this is something we've gotten used to seeing under Renee. It's two things. It's the press, which I think it's something that I wish they would be a little bit more daring with when they play City and they play Chelsea, though I do understand especially for Renee this season, it being her first matchup against those teams. Like, I understand her kind of like, okay, let me ease into this. Let me see what these matchups are about. But just like with every other team that she's played, you've seen it. They press like crazy. Like, they put pressure on you. They make you make mistakes, and then they capitalize on it. And we saw that against Tottenham, and we saw that all match. Like Deeply said, like, they play to the end now. If it's the 90th minute and they're on a break, they're not stopping. They're like, all right, cool, we'll score 10. If they can score 10, they'll score 10. And they should have this match. Kopp made some excellent saves on Tottenham's behalf, because there were legitimately 3 or 4 shots that without her saves would have been goals easy. I think it could have ended like 8-9, 10-0, honestly. Yeah. And that's another thing too. Like, we talk about the amount of goals Arsenal have scored under Renee. They've not conceded a lot under Renee. Like, you look at the matches, even that they've lost, what was it, 1-0 to Chelsea? They lost, or the results that they lost to against City were, those were high scoring matches, but they only lost by a goal. Like, they don't get scored on a lot under her, which I think says a lot, considering I don't feel like they have anywhere near the best defense in the league. I think that their defense leaves a lot to be desired. But they've done really well under Renee. It's why I get so frustrated, and why I kind of went on a sermon last time about people saying that just because she's like a Jonas disciple, that she plays the same way. It couldn't be more different. This is such a different team. They look different. They feel different. And as an Arsenal fan, from my perspective at this point, I'm just enjoying the rest of the season, however it turns out. The only thing I want is for us to finish top 3. Like, that's the only like desire I have. Everything else is icing on the cake. I feel like how I felt at the beginning of the season under Jonas, I don't think top 3 would have been possible, truly. I think we would have been sitting there like Liverpool. I really do. I think we would have been sitting here like 7th, 8th, struggling, wondering what's wrong with us. So to be where we are, I just want to finish top 3. Whatever else happens, happens. And I just hope the good form continues, because that was, oh my God, 5-0 against your rivals. And I think I'm trying to like look for the stat. I think this was like combined Arsenal have beat Tottenham, like I think something crazy like 19-1 or something. So
I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so we just keep whooping that ass. Like, I love it.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, Lisa Kopp for Tottenham. If
excellent
anything,
match.
she was excellent for her. She made 8 saves. And she's one of the January transfers, so like a big get for them. And important. Obviously, if you are defending 27 shots, 12, 13 shots on target, like 8 saves is good.
Huge. Well, that's what I mean. And like, she needed those 8 saves, because that would have been at least probably 4 or 5 more goals.
Yeah.
Like, so, you know, it's hard to say like, oh my God, you lost 5-0. You can't say the goalkeeper had a good match. No, you absolutely can. Like she saved them from complete embarrassment. You know, so I
Yeah.
love that.
Mariona Caldente also had a nice goal, and she was eating up Tom Bomb's favorite pixie cut on the right side, Ash Neville. And so much a very deserved goal because yeah, she just like had her in her pocket the entire match, and that was really fun. Also, Jenna Niswanger made her Emirates debut. It was right at the end though, so we didn't really get to see what she could do, but she was kind of part of the final attack.
And Arsenal have her playing winger. Like her first couple matches, she's been left winger, so she's getting that attack on.
Yeah, and I think
It's
when
really
she was in
intriguing.
college, it's like a central attacking mid. I think she played with,
Yeah, no,
right? And
she's
that was
familiar
like
with
she's
attack.
good.
Yeah.
I mean, she's only been in the NWSL what 1 year, and that was the year that Gotham had her playing defense. But yeah, no, she's
true.
yeah,
No, that's what I'm saying. Like
yeah.
it's good for her to get back
It's
in
just
it. Like that's her
interesting.
preferred and like what she's really good at. So yeah, it's interesting to
if she
see
can make it work, like
how she kind of gets fitted in with everyone else there now. So but yeah, like we said,
that Emily Fox to Niswanger connection for a goal is going to hit like absolute crack.
Yeah, I bet.
It's going to hit like that cross. I can picture it now. That cross is going to be so perfect. And Jenna's going to head that in. It's going to be like, oh my God.
I did want to share this stat that Sam Biccarino shared on Blue Sky. Only Katie McCabe, 6, created more chances than Chloe Kelly, 4, at the Emirates today. Chloe Kelly was subbed on at 61 minutes. So, like, in the 29 minutes that she was on the pitch, Chloe Kelly was doing work. But, like, again, like, we, as a City fan, I know that she can do this because last season she led the league in chances created by 10. So this is not unexpected, I guess.
not at all.
See, this is why I wondered.
One of her first touches of the match was this beautiful pass to Stina Blackstenius, who unfortunately, like, nothing came of that attack, but like pinpoint perfect, beautiful pass, and she was creating, all those 30 some minutes that she was on.
Yeah, first of all, rapper named Blackstenius. Oh my God, we talk about more goals that could have been. She's responsible for 90% of the goals that could have been with her kind of killing the momentum in the final third. So we'll let her slide for a horrible match, in all honesty. But that's what is to what Tom was saying. I really do wonder if this loan wasn't like one of those loan with a permanent attack. Like I've heard that it isn't, but it's hard to imagine that it's not, because Chloe Kelly's very obviously done at Manchester City. And as much as I know that I heard that she wanted to be at United, I can't imagine any player really wanted to be there right now. And just with how well she fits at Arsenal, like I just wonder if this was one of those things where it's like, look, we're going to loan you in now just to get you into this team and get you playing. And then we'll finalize that deal at the end and make you a permanent fixture here for the next few years, because I just don't know. I mean, unless Arsenal have other plans at winger, like I don't understand why they would make a loan move like that when they made it like the league was very obviously gone. And I don't think Chloe Kelly's the difference between a Champions League win and not, respectfully to her.
I mean, I would love her to stay. I think she'll be, we've already seen she can add a lot and inject a lot to our team, but if she prefers to like stay with her near her family in Manchester and all, obviously I think
that's fair.
Like whatever the player wants should get priority. But I want to mention, I forget which match. It was in 2023. I think it was almost a year ago now, or 2 years ago now. But there was a match between Arsenal and City where Katie McCabe, like when she's about to throw, she like, throws it in at Chloe Kelly's face, and they always had like a little bit of beef every time they played. So it's just funny seeing them on the same team now, playing on the same side, and just like trying to, create attacks together on up and down that right hand side. Set aside that beef, and now they're like They got to be
Yeah, the
best friends
Instagram
those
played
teammates.
into it. Like right when they announced her signing, like they had a post about it, kind of like recreating it. But yeah,
Nice.
it's interesting to see her return to Arsenal under these circumstances. But yeah, hopefully she makes the best of it. I hope she stays. Like I said, unless they have other plans.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're going to move on to the next match, which was Chelsea Everton, a 2-1 match, won at the death. Mark, why is Everton Chelsea's bogey team, or the closest thing that they have to a bogey team?
Yeah, very interesting. So, for the second week in a row, Everton took a lead against Chelsea. Last week it was an Olympico, right? Kind of, I won't call it lucky, but it's just one of those things that's kind of like you rarely see. But no, this match, I don't know. I guess you could say interesting. From a like pure Chelsea fan perspective, it was honestly frustrating. Just because you saw a lot of non-threatening possession, right? Now, I should also note that this was Kelly or sorry, Kira Walsh's first league start, I believe. Yeah, because she came off the bench versus Villa. So um yeah, that's right. So it was also she's like you could see her like still fitting into the team. And I watched this video after after the recording we did last week, kind of pointing out the difference with Kira Walsh in the lineup for Chelsea. And one of the first things you notice is now they can attack through the middle, right? Like I think Chelsea before you would see primarily attack on the wings. To good and not so good effect. Certainly I think it's easier to counterattack when you're going through the wings. But I think at times, like versus Arsenal, the first time they played, you saw like the fullbacks get exploited, right? Like if the fullbacks get isolated and exploited. So um, I think that, but the possession was just too ponderous, and you often talk about like possession stats not meaning much in the grand scheme of things, especially depending on like the state of the game, what each team is trying to accomplish, and so forth. I also kind of feel that way about expected goals. And for those of you who are kind of new to this, expected goals is essentially how many goals a team could be or should be expected to score based on the volume and location of their shots, right? So like each shot is assigned a percentage of likelihood based on like historical data and like whether or not it's an open goal if they're defenders or the keeper or what. So, but the thing is like so Everton in this match, first of all, they came out and they sat back, right? Which like most teams do when they're playing at Chelsea, and I think they would have been okay with the draw, right? So the onus is on Chelsea to like actually create and score, and I just felt like it was a lot of holding on to the ball. You saw a lot of Macario or Lauren James dropping deep to receive the ball to then turn and spread the ball out wide. It was just a lot of like passing the ball around, but I never thought they made Everton uncomfortable. And even though Everton didn't have a shot, I think actually the goal was their first shot. But even though they didn't have a shot for at least through the first half, they were fine with that. Like they were completely okay to, so like when Gago scored, I think the commentator said it was against the run of play, or you often hear comments like that. But I don't think, from an Everton perspective, I think the match at that point was going according to plan for them. So it's yeah, that's why for me it was just a bit frustrating. And then after the goal scores, then you see the urgency, then you see more direct play. Um, 11 minutes later, Myra Ramirez equalized, and basically like they just get the ball to her in the box, she turns and she shoots. It's that sort of thing. But the match after that though was actually pretty fun. Um, Oh, I don't think I mentioned it. The goal scorer for Everton was Kelly Gago, who, January signing. I think Kelly Gago's actually really good. She has the athleticism, she has the size, and yeah, the assist came from Tony Payne, who had a fantastic match. I thought she looked dangerous throughout. And yeah, it's just a bad giveaway that led to the goal. Um, and even after Chelsea equalized, Tony Payne, I think to me she was the best. She was the player of the match. I mean, like she just had Lucy Bronze and who was it? Was it Millie Bright? Yeah, it was Lucy Bronze and Millie Bright. She just had them in hell. Like it would because Chelsea at that point are obviously pushing, right, and leaving a lot of space behind. And then Everton would just lump the ball forward and Tony Payne would always get to the ball before Bronze or Bright. You also had Bronze playing center back, uh, which like they took out Empalme who started this match.
Choices.
Yeah, man. Like that's okay. Cause like Ashley Lord started the match at right back. And I thought that she was I didn't think she did much to be honest, but I also felt like the way Chelsea was playing was not really helping her either, right? And so, so you sub her out, then you sub in Bronze, and then you sub in Neem Charles. So you have Charles and Baltimore as your fullbacks. But yeah, I don't know. It was just chaos at the end, right? And honestly, I thought that this was definitely going to be a draw. I just didn't see how the goal was going to come until Lauren James picking up the ball from about 30 yards out and shooting. And what a concept, right? Instead of like trying to create these perfect goals, just have a shot. And um yeah, I'm curious as to what lessons were learned here by Bon Pastor because I think that part of what she's doing, she won't admit this, but I think she's looking ahead to like Champions League and that sort of thing, and like looking ahead to like those type of opponents like City, like potentially Barcelona, who are gonna want to get on the ball, who do have dangerous players, right? Like maybe then, a passing style that kind of draws them out before you pick them apart. Maybe that could work then, but against a team like Everton, to me, what I wanted to see was more athleticism, more counter pressing. I also thought so. Macario and Lauren James both started in this match. I'm not sure they can play together just because I feel like they're very similar in wanting to collect the ball, either drop deep or collecting the ball back to goal,
They
right?
occupy a lot of the same spaces.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I think they have a lot of the same tendencies as a player. And so Macario was subbed down to 51st minute for Hamano. And I do wonder if that also made it because Mano's more of a pressing type of hardworking player with an eye for goal as well. So, um, but yeah, overall, I think credit to Everton. First of all, I think their setup was really good. I think they did a good job of frustrating Chelsea. I also think that Chelsea just played too much into Everton's hands, ironically. And it's I'm curious to see how what these league matches look like going forward. Because the last league match versus Aston Villa, I thought it was a very experimental lineup. We saw players like Beaver Jones and a couple other players who don't normally start. We saw them start in that match. So I do kind of wonder if Juan Pastor is treating the league like almost like preparation for the other matches. Um, Also, one note from this match. When the center backs were on the ball, you noticed a lot of space in front of them that I thought they could have taken. And I was just thinking to myself, if Naomi Gurma was healthy, she would absolutely be taking the ball into spaces. And I think
Yeah.
that's also something else that you need when you're facing a team that's sitting deep is the attack has to come from other areas as well, or else you just become predictable. So um but yeah, fair play to Everton. Honestly, like I like Kelly Goggle a lot. I'm looking forward to seeing her in Payne, at least for the rest of this season and going forward. And I don't know, they kind of seem like a team that's maybe on the up. Like could even finish like mid-table this season.
Nice. Yeah, I remember. I mean, last episode, I think you were, or a couple episodes ago, talking about Kelly Gago a lot, and praising her. And she's probably the best transfer of this window. if not like the season. She's the best get for them. Already has shown so like yeah, Everton has improved so much and like are kind of they're not out of the relegation battle obviously yet, but they're up in ninth, so you know they're slowly moving away from those bottom three spots.
Safer than they were. A
Yeah.
lot safer than they were.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth about Kelly Gaga. She is probably the best winter window signing that the league has seen, like thus far. Like that, because yeah, Gurma probably has like a higher ceiling, but like we haven't seen Gurma yet.
Yeah.
So, but to like based off of results on the field, that is like Gago has probably been the best transfer thus far.
I'm kind of curious how Mark feels as a Chelsea fan, because I'll be honest, I think we all know that they're prioritizing Champions League, but I agree, like the way that they've played in the WSL, probably the last 3 to 4 matches, like this is why I wanted to have that conversation about the depth in terms of teams and the ability and the parity in the league, because in the NWSL, like I know a lot of English fans are going to hate to hear this, but in the NWSL, if Chelsea rocked up with the form that they've been in the last month, they lose probably every match that they play. And that's not hyperbole. That's not to gas up the NWSL. Like they walk into Louisville playing like that, they lose 1-0. Like there's just facts, right? And it sounds crazy to say like it's the mighty Chelsea, but like that's the parity I would like to see in the league, because I feel like with the way Arsenal have been playing, and obviously this is my bias, but like with the way they've been playing, to not make any ground, because you watch a game like Everton where they absolutely probably should have had a win, if not a draw, but they lose because they can't keep focus for 90 minutes and because they allow a 30-yard shot, which was a good shot, but it's like you watch that kind of slow ball go in and you're just like, somebody stop that. Like somebody get a leg in front, like somebody save that, something. But like that's how Chelsea have won their last few matches despite looking really gettable. And I'm just curious as a Chelsea fan, because I look at this team and I'll be honest, I don't think they win the Champions League this year. Like, especially again, given how they've played in the league, I think it's a very dangerous game to play. Speaking as a Lakers fan in the NBA, I've seen this a lot where teams think like we'll just turn it on when it's time. That's a very dangerous game to play. And I wonder how it feels for you, Mark, because it's like I look at Chelsea, if they don't win the Champions League this year, I look at the way the league is getting set up for next year. I don't know if their dominance really continues the way that it has. Even if they do go out and get Trinity Rodman and Sophia Wilson and all of these players, like even if they do, I still don't think their dominance continues the way that it has the last few years with team like City gearing up, with teams like Arsenal with a competent manager, teams like, Everton kind of coming to the party and spending. Like I just wonder how you feel going into the rest of this year. Is it Champions League or bust?
Well, yes. I do feel like I feel like, and so in terms of Champions League, I think that this is probably the best opportunity for Chelsea to win it. Just like with Barcelona having a first-year head coach and potentially some off vibes right now over there. Lyon also first-year head coach, right? And so like I look at the field and I feel like this is probably Chelsea's best opportunity to win it. And also like this league season is an anomaly, right? It's not usually this uncompetitive, right? There has been a title race each of the past 5 seasons, even though Chelsea have won all of those. So I do kind of agree. Like I think part of the reason we've seen that is because both Arsenal and City are are having a somewhat transitional year. Like I think.
Well, but I say, yeah, like we all know Arsenal's problem was the first start under Jonas. Like I said,
right.
Like, it's important to view that team with like a before he left and after he left, because I agree. Like we lost the league, unfortunately, in those first 3-4 matches for sure.
Right, and I think also
For
like like you had Minima go. I think Arsenal probably need like a mini refresh, maybe like a big signing or two. I think City, this could
like Trinity
potentially,
Rodman.
yeah, right, or Sophia Wilson, right?
Oh my god.
When you said Sophia Wilson, I honestly
Well,
took me
that's
a
why I
second. I was
stumbled
like,
over saying the name
I know, I
because
was
like
like,
I'm so
who?
used to saying Sophia Smith and like congratulations to her, but like
Yeah,
that's why I kind of stumbled because I was like, wait, no, not Sophia
yeah.
Smith, she's Sophia Wilson now. Like, yes, but we're
It was
talking
gonna
about
take me a
the
second. Anyway,
USWNT superstar as part of the
Yes.
Triple Espresso. That one, yes, that one,
Yes.
that player, yes, her.
And then like with City, this potentially Taylor's last season, depending on how things play out, right? Like Tom says, he's kind of due for a trophy, right? So I think that this is probably Chelsea's best opportunity for Champions League. So from that sense, it is kind of Champions League or bust. And I mean, you're right. Like the last 3 league matches have been all 80 plus minute winners to sneak it out, right? And then like you kind of the last 2 matches you had Myra Ramirez saving Chelsea's bacon, which I think that I think going forward, her play in particular will be very important in big matches. I think that she's probably one of, if not our best big match player. So
it's going to be so intriguing that Champions League draw with City because it's going to be like
man.
Ramirez and Fowler, the 2 players who are saving their team's asses the last month and a half. Like,
and like when you list all of City's players that are in form or be getting healthy or so forth, like listen, at the beginning of the season, I was trying to extol City's praises, and their title, challenge didn't materialize, but they're still in all the other competitions. Like I don't know, so it's like the Champions League is a knockout competition, right? You can really take it a game at a time, and so I'm just looking at those City ties like. We just have to get past them and then see from there. So how do I feel? How confident am I? Kind of.
Well, I just mean like for the future, right? Because like if you don't win Champions League, right, you'll win. I think it's safe to say you win another league title. But after that, you're looking at a future where I feel like league titles are going to get harder to come by, and then like you said, like Champions League is going to get even tougher. And so I don't know. I'm just kind of curious, like what the vibe, because I feel like. To me, and again, like I know this is kind of Chelsea's way, but I feel like there's very much a sense of desperation when they spend $1 million on a defender in January, and then they start putting out rumors like we want Trinity, we want Sophia, we want all these players, we want Jewel Brand, like we want every player we can. Like when teams start talking like that, like yeah, money moves and things like that, but when teams start talking like that, it lets me know they can see the writing on the wall, and I'm just like I feel like. We're reaching a very interesting point in Chelsea's future where it's like I think we're gonna really see what life after Emma's gonna be like. I think.
And just in terms of like a vibe check of the Chelsea fan base, like as you've seen, like there are still mixed feelings about Bon Pastor and her style.
Well, I see it. I'll be honest, like that's one thing I hate about y'all, really,
effectiveness.
because every match y'all be like, "Oh my god, we play so bad. Oh my god, we're so this, we're so that." I look at the score sheet and it's like 2-0 Chelsea, and I'm just like, "What are y'all talking about?"
No,
Like,
but this match, okay, well, come on.
But no, like, yeah.
This match was particularly.
Like, you don't know pain. You don't know darkness. What are you talking about?
For a team that hasn't lost a match this season, we complain a lot. No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. That is crazy. They haven't lost this year, huh? They're going invincible right
What
now.
a humble brag. What a humble brag.
That's crazy. I forgot they're going invincible right now. That makes me so mad. City, you got to beat them. Tom, you have to beat them for the sake of league. For the sake of everything, you have to beat them, Tom.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. I forgot about that. They're like pulling an invincible right now, Tom.
That's the thing that we have left in the league. Like I really.
Thank God you're not going to be the first team
mad
to do it.
If Everton handed us our first loss, like I swear to God, man.
Because I'll be honest, like outside of I think you have City left and I think United left. I don't see a team on your remaining schedule that can beat you.
You would think.
Honestly. Well, that's what on paper. Obviously, this is why we play the games. But anyway,
before we move on, Treb, you mentioned the parity of NWSL versus the kind of no parity in this league. There was an interview with Sandy Baltimore recently where she came from PSG, and I think there's even less parity.
Oh yeah,
because right. And so it was just funny.
La Liga Femenil, like that parity is non-existent. It's Barcelona.
But basically her quote was, what did she say? I was coming to the end of my contract at PSG and I wanted a challenge week in and week out. I knew that the football in England was very, very intense and high tempo, and that every week you had a game on your hands, and that is what I was looking for. I was like, girl, come to NWSL.
Yeah, if that's what you really want, come down and do so. But Mark is
Yeah.
right. Like in fairness to the WSL, this is one of the few times where we've seen, like, since the WSL was created, that we've seen a league kind of be won this easily and the parity be
Yeah.
exposed this much. And again, I think it's less, I think just coming from an Arsenal fan perspective, it's just the feeling of, it's unfortunate when throughout the course of a season, it's your first 3 matches that cost you a title, right? Like, we've gone since the day Renee came in. I don't think we've, like, other than the Chelsea loss, we haven't lost a league match because
Right.
the City loss was in the cup. So I think
Right.
outside of that Chelsea loss, we haven't lost a league match. And I feel like when you make that kind of run, but you're still feeling like nothing we do is going to matter because nobody else in this league can beat Chelsea other than us and City, like, it kind of feels like, okay, you know, you kind of start looking at the league like, what are we doing here? But again, like, we'll see how it shakes out next year, because I do think it'll be different next year.
I agree.
All right, let's move on to the match that I highlighted in our last episode. And again, maybe I'm just a WSL sicko, and you all called me like, this game is not going to be interesting. Why would I watch this match?
To be fair, we said it wasn't the most intriguing matchup on the card. Yeah, I don't think it's not interesting at all. Just not Everton Chelsea, which, I mean, we saw how, let's be honest, that was an interesting match. But continue. I'm sorry.
Well, Leicester played at the King Power. They hosted their Midlands rival in Villa, and they dispatched them easily with a 3-0 victory. Janice Kyman kind of turned back the hands of time and scored 2 goals. Again, that is 37-year-old Janice Kyman. So she got a brace on some. The second goal off of the volley was absolutely nuts. Like, I was like, how did you score that? Even the first goal, she was kind of like, the keeper stopped her the first time, and then she was still able to get the ball past her. I believe that the third goal was scored by Thibaut in the 50th minute. Other than that, it was pretty straightforward. I cannot believe that these words are coming out of my mouth. However, I think we talked about this player specifically for Aston Villa, and like how she just confused us completely. But I think that Adriana Leone's injury is really hampering Villa, especially with a new coach, especially since the caretaker manager in Sean Goder had figured out a way to play Nunes da Silva with Rachel Daly and Ebony Salmon and Adriana Leone and make them play interesting football. And the fact that Leone is hurt, Arroyo just stepped in recently. I think this was only like I think this was her first league match. And I'm not sure if she's like the team has fully wrapped their arms around what Arroyo wants to do yet. And I think that was kind of obvious in the way that they played. They never looked dangerous, even in a match where they had 70% of the ball. They never they had almost 4 times as many accurate passes in 508 than Leicester did in 165 all match. But they still had the same amount of Leicester had more shots on target, more shots inside the box. So everything that Leicester was doing, like, they were doing efficiently. And you could not say the same about Villa. And I think that Villa's really going to have to get on whatever program that Arroyo wants to be on, because they are sitting in 11th. They are 4 points clear of Crystal Palace. However, in their upcoming matches, they still have to play City in the FA Cup. They still have to play United in the league. They play Arsenal. They play Brighton um, to end out the season. So there's still some really large matches, and they do play Crystal Palace on uh, the road. So there's some really big matches that they need to grab some points from. And unless they can get their arms totally around what Arroyo wants to do, they're going to find themselves in some trouble.
Yeah, big win for Leicester, like you said, because this bumps them into 10th above Villa. And like we were saying, the relegation battle is mostly those three teams now. Everton is still kind of there, but Leicester, Villa, and Crystal Palace. And this puts Leicester 6 points above Crystal Palace, which is still like not safe. I think there's 8 matches left to go in the season, but it's definitely safer, and could help them be on their way to another season in the WSL. So good for them. How was Leipzig? Is she still like on your radar as Golden Glove or like one of the best keepers right now this season?
I think she played well, but that stated, like, Villa didn't really test her all of that well.
Mm.
Like, yeah, she had the 5 saves, but like that was really all that she needed to do, and they weren't like, I think one of them was like, oh, okay, this is like a above average keeper save, but all of the rest of them were like, okay, like your average WSL keeper is gonna save those. So I like, Yanina Leipzig had an okay match, but she didn't really have a lot of work to do, even like, which I think speaks to Leicester's defense, in that, like, you're letting the other team have the ball 70% of the time, yet you're like only allowing, 5 shots on goal on target. Like, you're doing something right.
Mhm.
Like, you're obviously like confusing where their spaces are open, and just kind of like locking down the middle of the pitch. And obviously they know how to do that. Um, and like, most of the time like, and I think that that was one of the things that, like, once they got that first goal that Kyman scored, it was like they're probably going to win this match because they're not going to let up another goal. Like, and I'm not sure that Villa can really break them down, especially we talked about, trying to adapt to a new coach's system. So, like, this is the third coach that Villa players have had this season. So, like,
Yeah.
trying to adapt to 3 different ways of playing football is not usually the move.
True. So yeah, it seems like Leicester's backline kind of did it all because all three goals were scored by players on their backline. Like you said, Kaiman and Thibaut, and then obviously what you just mentioned about the defense. So yeah, it's cool.
So, and I think we'll move on to United and Brighton. That was a
West Ham and
this
Brighton. Right?
well, excuse me, West Ham and Brighton. Yes, correct. Let me not get that wrong. Um, that was a bonkers match. Just an absolute bonkers match. Like, this probably was the match of the weekend. And all I have in the notes is just like Chigwell magic for it. Like, you saw, like, all of like the goals that should have been scored, like the um Pavi had a clear chance after Martinez had kind of rounded the keeper a little bit. It hit the number of chances that hit the post in this match just like was astonishing to me. So I think let's see. West Ham scored first with through Shakira Martinez. were on a really nice goal, and literally a minute later, Nikita Paris equalized, so it was 1-1 for the entire match. And at that point, it was just really, really cagey. Like both teams gave away some really dubious chances on both sides, and that's kind of what ended up leading to Ueki's goal, because Brighton tried to pass out of the back and they passed it directly to Ueki. And Ueki did not make any mistakes with that goal at all. And then, again, I think we've said this before. This league needs VAR real bad, like real bad. Vivian Asai was fouled in the box.
What are side refs for again? What are side judges for again? What is their job again?
I don't even know, but like I watched that like 5 times back. I was like, there's no way that this is a pin. It's not
Are
even
we
in the
seeing
box.
lines that they're not seeing? Like,
Yeah, like
they have to guess.
How is this happening?
They're right there. Like the lines are
right
painted
there.
and bright. Yeah. If the center ref misses it, like that's what the lines judges are literally there for.
And the center ref was the one that called the penalty, and I get that. But you would have thought that the side judge would have been there to
VAR next year, please.
So then we Vivian Asai buried her penalty in the 69th minute. It's 3-0. Brighton, tried some things. Again, wasn't really successful. They miss Frank Kirby so bad, like so bad. Like their inability to protect the middle of the field is glaring. Like just glaring. And not just like from a defensive standpoint, but just like from an like I am going to hold the ball in the middle of the pitch and nothing is going to happen unless I want it to happen. They have nobody on their team that can do that. Like nobody. And that's a problem. And it coincides with their dip in form. And so I don't they definitely their form is dropping severely. And I'm not sure if now we do have to remember that Brighton was the team that was in 11th last season. So it would not shock me if the second half of their season reflected more what last season looked like than than what we saw in the first.
And they didn't have many, they didn't have wholesale changes. Like they just had a few really good loaned in players turn out well, right? Like Aguimain from Arsenal, and they were able to
they brought in Nikita Paris.
I was going to say they brought in Nikita Paris on a permanent.
But and I think Madison Haley had been there for a while, but she was a young player, so now she kind of.
So it's not like they had such an overhaul of a team that you would expect them to kind of go from 11th to top of the table. But yeah, you're right. Like I can see kind of them coming back to earth now.
Yes.
I don't know if I would agree with you on that though, because I mean they got Kirby, they got Kiko Seki, they got Jelena Chankovic, is that how you say her name? From
Chankovic,
Chelsea as well. Yeah. So quite a few starters and big names, plus a new coach, and so enough changes that you could see like.
Well, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like you're seeing it, like they're they're.
I mean, yeah, that's true. They are fifth, but.
I feel like that's what I mean. Like I feel like their position right now reflects the changes that they made.
Yes.
And while I wouldn't be surprised if they came back to earth, I feel like for them this year, job done, right? Like get a team that can get the hell out of that relegation race.
Yeah, fair enough.
Last match, which was actually the first match, United versus Crystal Palace, 3-1 United over Crystal Palace. And honestly, it probably should have been more for United.
Definitely should have been more. I mean, we talked about it with the Arsenal match. A lot of missed chances. The same can be said for United. A lot of missed chances. Finished 3-1. I mean, they did everything they wanted to do to Crystal Palace. Unfortunately, I think I've been one of the loudest Crystal Palace supporters on the show this year. And it was just really sad to watch because United, from start to finish, controlled that match. Everything they wanted to do, they did. They didn't have a ton of shots, only 13 shots, but I mean, 8 of them were on target. They maintained 66% of the possession. There was one bright moment for Crystal Palace when Gage was able to get on the other side of the defense and get a night. Like, it was a great counter-attacking move, just perfect pass from the back, well over the United defense. Gage got in, and we saw the first kind of human moment from Fallon Tillis-Joyce where the ball just kind of got past her. I think she had the advantage. She had the angle, but it was just a great strike, just one of those moments. And it was a goal for Crystal Palace to avoid the clean sheet or the shutout, I guess, from their end. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those performances that I think United needed in a way, because it wasn't like they struggled against an inferior opponent. They, much like Arsenal did, they were able to just kind of do whatever they want, get the goals, get the win, move on. And I think for them, especially a team that is trying to maintain that pace and keep Arsenal from overtaking them in second, I think it was a huge win. But yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about it other than, it was just a dominant performance from United, and their form continues. I'll be interested to see how they finish the season, because I do think some of their tougher matchups remain at the end of the season. Obviously, I think they still have each a match left against each of our teams, right? Yeah, like they end the season home against Chelsea, home against City, and away against Arsenal. So I still think they need every win that they can, like they got this past weekend, because if they slip up against like a Villa or whoever else, let me see, who do they have left? Yeah, if they slip up against like Liverpool, or if they slip up against Villa, that could be the difference between, that second place and honestly fourth. Because like I said, City are coming, in my opinion. And when you have the top three teams in the league at the last 3 matches of the season, I think that's rough. Like, that is a brutal finish for a club that is trying to kind of reestablish their namesake in terms of how big they are as a brand, and establish that on the women's side. So, but this match was a good win. Great for them. I feel sad for Palace. I know we talked about, Tom talked about it with Villa kind of falling back into that race. I think that Palace Villa match is going to be for relegation. I really do. Unfortunately, I don't see Palace making the most of the rest of their schedule. I wish I could say I did, but I don't. But I could see Villa slipping up enough to where going into that match against Palace, it's like, okay, whoever wins this is going to be safe. And that could be really interesting, because who knows, maybe Palace has some magic. And if they can pull off a win in that match, like, they can still have a chance. They still have life. But I am losing faith in them every match. They did well enough to get a defender in the window. I said they needed an attacker, and I feel like it's proven. I mean, in this match, they had 4 shots, and 2 were on target. You're not gonna get results in the WSL like that. Yeah, well,
you need to score goals.
You need to score a goal. You need at least 1 goal.
Yeah.
I will say that I know that I get that they're the rival, and I'm not supposed to. I've been very impressed with United's backline, like specifically their defense. And I think that, like, having Gabby George and Jade Riviere, like, being able to both help defend dangerous wingers and be able to be part of the attack as well has been crucial for them. And Letizia, again, I think that Letizia has been one of the better defenders in the league, honestly. And I did not think that her and Turner would be able to do what they've done in defense, but they've been rock solid in front of Fallon. And
I was about to say, I think it's the rise of the defense, but also a lot of it is the breakout season that we've seen from Fallon. Because you even think back to I think it was Renee's first match with Arsenal, or maybe it was her second, but like the first league match was that United match that finished 1-1. And a lot of the reason that finished 1-1 was because Fallon made several huge saves that match that, should have been goals. And we look at where the teams are now, like that could be the difference in, them finishing second or them kind of fighting for that third spot right now. And so I think you're right. I think it's been the performance from the defenders, but I also think Fallon coming good and her getting the chance, right? Because I think a lot of us who follow NWSL and who followed her when she was with Seattle knew of her talent. And so for her to get that chance to play at United finally, yeah, she's every bit as good as we thought she would be in this league. And I think without her breakthrough performance this year, United are probably hovering where Liverpool are, in all honesty. Like in that 7th, 6th spot.
Yeah. I mean, Chubb, you say that City scares you the most right now. United scares me the most.
Well, they're just above us. I mean, yeah, I feel like that's a
Yeah.
given. I was just talking about teams behind us in terms of like,
okay.
yeah. No, yeah. United definitely scare me in terms of like their future. And because again, we've talked about it, they're doing all of this in spite of no support from ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine if Ratcliffe wakes up one day and is like, well, actually, let me start investing in the women's side. Like we're fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in terms of like, that's a 4th team now that legitimately inserts itself into the power structure of this league. Like
when there's only 3 spots.
There's exactly when we're talking about 3 Champions League spots and really 1 Champions League spot because the other 2 are playoff spots, really. So, I mean, it's not like the Premier League where it's like top 4 are in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like top 3 are in. The winning team is in for sure. The other 2 got to just, handle their business and win what is usually an easy playoff matchup, but that's not always the case.
That's
not
always
about to say. We know personally that's not always the case. So, but again, like I think, yeah, United scares me because they're doing all this in spite of the negativity. So.
And I think Elizabeth Turland has had kind of a breakout year as well. She had a brace and she's scored 9 goals this season already for them. And so it's clicking on all ends for them, like you said, in spite of what's happening off the field, which is both incredible and a little bit frightening.
And if they do get Kelly next year, like you're talking about adding her to the mix too. Mm-hmm. So, if she does want to stay close to family and join them,
They've allowed 6 goals all
season. Well, yeah, that's
6.
why we talk about golden. But I think Fallon has that award pretty sewn up. I think the only one giving her competition for that probably would be Van Domselaar, but even that, I don't think is necessarily close.
All right. So we are now on the international break. There are a few little early spring tournaments that we have in the She Believes Cup. I think we're already talking about Australia and Japan, and that match went to full time. Japan smacked Australia 4-0. We are awaiting kickoff of the U.S. and Colombia. Those are the 4 teams.
Feisty match.
Yes,
and there's WSL players on all 4 of those teams.
Yes,
there really
are. Mm-hmm. This is the first time that Myra Ramirez has been called back into the Colombia squad since.
That's going to be real interesting.
Yeah, especially since the center back pairing is Tara McEwen and Emily Sonnet. So have fun with that. Emma is making some choice. Like, Mark, I'm seeing your face, and you're like, ooh, I've seen Emma make choices similar to this, and like, I don't like it.
I'm gonna be real, and I'm not trying to bring up bad memories for you, Tom. But the first thing I thought of was Alana Kennedy getting bodied by Myra, because that could absolutely happen to Emily Sonnet. I can see it happening.
Absolutely. Alana Kennedy got bodied in this Japan match, and we will leave that at that.
Yeah, I was like, look at the height difference between the teams, the demographic, of Japan versus Australia. And
I just don't like Niswanger playing left back because I know it's going to be all of 2.5 minutes where Colombia realizes they don't need to have Caicedo fighting the height difference between her and Emily Fox when they can have her blowing past Jenna Neiswanger on the other opposite side. So like I'm not excited for that as an Arsenal fan because I feel like this is not a great matchup for Jenna. But and again, like I mentioned, with Arsenal, she's been playing left wing and now she's being thrown back into left back. So it'll be interesting to see kind of
Well,
how she adjusts to that.
this is a U.S. thing, right? With like putting
Mhm.
players at fullback who aren't really fullbacks.
No, this is the complete US thing. Yes, Crystal
But we
Dunn,
have fullbacks.
world-class midfielder, played
Hell,
so much in US's system as a left back for zero reason other than fast.
yeah.
That's kind of the US's thinking where it's like pacey, fast, winger, outside back.
Even last Shibuli's Cup last year, the first like the opening minute of Japan USA, Japan caught I forget which fullback, but caught our fullback high up the field, below past her, and score a goal.
We
Like
will see Kat Macario in action though. She's getting the
yes.
start tonight. So, like I said, there's a lot of WSL, or like Deepsy said, there's a lot of WSL players in these matchups. We recommend everyone watch it because international football is always fun. I'm hoping for another Emily Fox banger because the more that she does to shut up the US fans, the better. They are the only ones that don't rate her for whatever reason. So
I was gonna say, I feel like she gets a lot of hate
she gets hate from her own fans.
from her
The
own
US
people.
fans do not rate Emily Fox. And I really don't understand. Like, I guess I get it, but I don't understand why.
I didn't know that was a thing. Yeah.
Oh, it's very much a thing. They don't rate her at all. And they don't rate Jenna either. So it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with tonight. But, this is why I'm a Mexican international fan, all right? I don't,
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
speaking of
I don't.
speaking of Mexico, they are in the Pinatar Cup in Spain with Canada, China, and Chinese Taipei. Canada will have some WSL players that were called in for that particular tournament, and then you also have for UEFA Nations League, which I'm if I'm understanding correctly, that is actually the qualification for the World Cup for UEFA is Nations League play.
I
Or
think it's where they finish in their Nation League like groups is going to be their positions for where they start for the World Cup qualifiers.
yeah,
And
okay,
then they like go through World Cup qualifiers and whatever. So it's kind
okay,
of just another step before qualification.
gotcha. So basically, for the foreseeable future, all international windows, UEFA will only play other UEFA competition, which again is a choice.
Good luck with that.
Because yeah,
Come
like
2027, good luck with
right,
that.
it's like because you're gonna be playing in Brazil, and you don't think that you needed to play just one CONMEBOL
Mhm.
team, one CONCACAF team, just to
If you
see what.
think that listen, man, I'm telling you all now, all of you English fans, like, understand you're not going to like the refereeing come 2027 in Brazil. And the less Common Bowl CONCACAF teams you play, the less you're going to be used to the way that we play out here. And I'm telling you now, you're not going to have a good time. You're not going to have a good time. So
Straight up
just
not having a
brace
good
yourself
time.
because we don't even have a good time and we're used to this. So understand, you are not going to have fun. Zero fun.
Yeah.
But maybe you might win it. Who knows? But you won't have fun doing it. I know that much. I know that much.
I don't think Spain had very much fun playing Brazil in the Olympics.
Nah,
So
They
Mm.
most definitely did
nah,
not. And
never fun.
and if we're keeping it a buck, they didn't have fun playing Colombia either. So
oh, true. True. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a choice.
that's our international hour.
yes. Well, as we stated, it is the international break, so we're gonna look into some fun stuff to talk about WSL specific for next week's show. And you can find us on Apple, you can find us on Spotify, on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also follow our Blue Sky account at the 12 WSL. That is 12, the number 12 spelled out. So all of the alpha characters of 12, D12 WSL. Please give us a follow. Hit that follow button on all of the all of those platforms to stay up to date when new episodes drop. You can leave us a rating and review if you can, because we would love to hear your feedback. There are 12 teams, 6 matches, 4 hosts. You are listening to the 12. And we